We're back to the Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network, TotalTutor.net for more information. You can email me and Haley at TotalTutor.org for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook. And celebrity segment. And I'm telling you, I already been promoting this up on Facebook, that I'm interviewing him, and it'll be interviewing all over the syndication at different times. And that's what's so cool. And I'll be tweeting him out every time. I'm really excited to talk to somebody, a former Amazing Race contestant, and I guess a reality television superstar in certain ways, because it's been more than once he's been on reality TV. So I'm going to welcome to the program Ryan Danz. Ryan, thanks for calling.
Absolutely. This is great. I'm excited to have the conversation.
Right, exactly. And you were a contestant alongside your girlfriend, Abby Ginsburg, and on the last Amazing Race. And so can you tell me first of all, how you got involved in the Amazing Race?
Sure, absolutely. So, we were watching as fans. We'd been dating by at that point about a year and a half, and so we'd watched a couple seasons together. And during one of the episodes from season 20, I said to her, back in the day when I did The Apprentice, I knew one of the producers that worked on Apprentice had moved over to Race, and I wonder if I could at least ask them to put a tape in for us and at least make sure it was seen. And she said, sure, let's give it a shot. And so we spent about a month working on a videotape, and just to be safe, we uploaded that tape to the CBS website, and then when I sent it off to a friend of mine to make sure the casting department would see it, and they called back because of the one we had uploaded generically, just like everyone else does, and we went through sort of a question and answer period, and then they said we're interested, and then when they found out I had done The Apprentice 7 years earlier, they said, sorry, we don't make that exception, no crossovers from competition reality shows from other networks, and thanks but no thanks. And so I think Abby and I were pretty crushed at that point,
yes,
because it seemed like it was moving in the right direction, and everything we had heard up until that point is you guys would be great, and then it was no-go. And then about a month went by, we didn't hear anything. And then Abby got a call out of the blue and was like, hey, you're never going to believe this. One of the producers from that show is now head of reality TV at CBS, and we had a team drop out for medical issues, and we presented you guys, and that producer remembered you, worked on that show with you, Ryan, and so we're going to make the exception. And we said, oh, my God, you got to be kidding. This is great. We're in. So that was, that started back in October of 2011 and took us all the way until April of 2012, that whole process of making a tape and having interviews and then being told no and then being told yes. So it's a pretty extensive process.
Well, it seems like it's very extensive and interesting in so many ways, because you again, people think reality television, oh, yeah, it's simple to get on a reality television show. Well, that's not the case. And creating your own, that's even more of a difficult thing. I've been talking to some experts on that, so that's a goal of mine, to have my own reality TV show. We'll see if that ever happens. You just never know about these opportunities, Ryan, and where they present themselves. But again, then you guys knew about the Amazing Race. When you first got the call up, meaning you're going to do this, and you were getting ready to travel, and you heard the itinerary, you had to have been blown away, weren't you?
Well, it's fascinating because, we send in our passports while we're applying, kind of going through the finals preparation period. So we send off our passports, and we don't get them back until a couple days before we actually leave. And what they do is, they don't tell you ahead of time where you're going, but you do have to go sit for all your shots and immunizations. When you get we went to L.A. before we left on the race, and we were all in a hotel together with the other teams. We got our passports back, and we flipped through every page that got stamped for visas. And there was a bunch of phony visas in there, real visas, but for countries we didn't end up going to. So we could not prepare. We did not know the itinerary. We did not know we were going to China first until we jumped off the bridge in Pasadena and got our first clue, which said, make your way to the airport. There'll be 2 flights to China. So the only preparation we did was literally on that first flight to China, and we're reading down the, on the backs of the seaplanes, they have sort of information on the city you're going to be visiting or flying into, and we were taking that information, which really, except for, it's funny because I would say normally that doesn't matter, but in China there was a little bit of a map, and on that plane, and we had an idea of where the bund was, which is where the first pit stop was, and we ended up winning that leg of the race because we knew where the signal tower was located on the bund, and we got there first ahead of some other teams that actually had helped us along the way. And that qualified us for the $2 million grand prize if we were to win the race, whereas everyone else would be racing for $1 million. So, all of that happened over a 17-hour flight. It was pretty much, a whirlwind at that point.
Right, and you're like thinking, where are we going next? How am I physically in shape, which it seems like you are, and your girlfriend to be able to handle this? And are we going to be able to handle the stress involved in this? Because you watch the show, you see how crazy it is, and how they really don't give you much information, and there's all these clues, and you wouldn't think, you'd think sometimes when you talk to people, Ryan, that reality television show is not really reality. But in this one, it sounds like that parts of it definitely are real. And
I came back telling people, even while it was airing, I was blown away by the edit that they did because it was so accurate to what I remembered. The events were happening, and they were capturing those events accurately. Now, there was a little gimmicky stuff with the audio. One thing that comes to mind, that first leg when we were rappelling down the Pasadena Bridge, it was a free rappel, and Abby got ahead of me, and she was sort of yelling at me, let's go, hurry up. And I'm saying, Abby, I'm the one that's breaking our fall. I'm using my hands. If I let go, we fall. And anyway, she's kind of like in the moment, and that's cool. Well, that next day in China, when we're racing another team that had actually given us information on where a clue was, and we're running past them, and I'm ahead of Abby, and the audio all of a sudden comes on with Abby saying, come on, hurry up, let's go, but she's behind me. And so I was like, oh, that's not really accurate. That was really taken from the bridge rappel, but it makes for a good story where she's encouraging me to pass this other team. And, and that being said, for the most part, the editing is spot on, right? No one has ever told us, you need to say this or you guys need to do that.
Right.
I mean, you go, and they get what they, because they know they're going to get what they want to get. It's not going to be tough. We're not eating, we're not sleeping, we're in very stressful situations. It's not going to be hard to get us to sort of, be impulsive or, explosive or anything like that. So, they do a great job of portraying what actually happened. But there's always tricks, to make it a little more interesting.
Well, it seems like there'll definitely be those tricks, and that's what producers do, right? They think about ideas of how to make it so that people can kind of put their foot in their mouth. And I wear two hats, I guess, in the radio game, where I'm producing and also I guess I'm writing in certain ways as well, ideas. And when I do shows that are not just interviewing a star, I get people caught off guard. They wouldn't think the topic and what question I'm going to ask and see what they say. And that's probably what they do. They do the same thing. I'm going to put them in a position. You're not able to eat. You're lacking sleep. So guess what? Dropping an F-bomb, that might happen. Or getting upset and yelling, that might happen. That's what makes reality television what it is. And it's very interesting that what I said before is that it is real in certain aspects. Now, what would you say was your most exciting experience of the whole race? Which country you went to, or what race was the best? Well,
I can tell you that when we got into Bangladesh, we live in San Diego, so we're close to the border in Mexico, and Tijuana is a very, very, very poor place. So, we have some sort of experience going into an area like that. But I'll tell you, when we flew into Dhaka, Bangladesh, I had never seen poverty like that. I mean, we're talking garbage dumps with people sort of feeding there, and you see little kids walking down the street with IVs in their arm. And I mean, just stuff that's just horrific. Holes in the ground to go to the bathroom. It's not sanitary. Dead animal carcasses in the streets. People just walking past. Very few paved roads. Kids playing in rivers next to sewage. I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on. That, you asked about exciting, but to me that was the most powerful experience for us. And we were there for 2 legs of the race. So we were there for a few days, and you really get a sense of, you're not, I can compare it with Istanbul and sort of racing through Turkey over a 6-hour period and getting in and getting out. We saw the architecture. We were on a ferry crossing the Bosphorus Strait, and it was gorgeous. And the architecture was beautiful, and the people were lovely, but you don't really get, in 6 hours, a true sense of the city. But in Dhaka, It was so powerful. I think we just kind of were like, this is why we're so lucky to live where we live, and we're so blessed to have what we have. And you do take it for granted, and then you go into a place like that, and it snaps you right back. We went through a jute mill as one of part of the tasks that we had to do, where we had to basically create a jute. Go into a jute manufacturing plant and work with the jute it took about 45 minutes. And we had a leader in there that was walking us through, and this was a true sweatshop. And it was row and row of, we're in 120-degree heat outside.
Yeah.
And then, couple that with the machines that are working inside. These guys, these men that were working in there were all in their boxer shorts, and that's it, and they're just dripping sweat. And Abby and I were just looking at each other like, is this reality? I've never seen anything like that. And even if you saw it on TV or in some other medium on the internet, it would not hit you like it hit you in person. And so that was incredible. And so we had said before we left, where do you want to go? Wouldn't it be cool if we went to Australia? Wouldn't it be cool if we went to Africa? And then you come off the show and you're like, thank God we didn't go to those places, and we got to see places that we probably never would have traveled before,
definitely.
But for the race. And that was really like, wow, we didn't win the $2 million, but look what we did win. We won these life-changing experiences. So for that, we're grateful.
Well, and that's the important thing. The experience you'll never forget. And it's so, and it really teaches you a lot to say, hey, we should be happy with what we have. When you're talking about the poverty and that you talked about, it's just, it's something that, and so for people who did not watch the show, and I can say, I think I watched a couple episodes. I think if this is the one with Buddha in it and stuff. This is the only one I probably watched, Ryan. I was really into it. I forget, there was this one part. I can't remember for the points, but you really look familiar when I saw your picture, and I said, I think I watched that one, but I'll have to go back and watch part of your YouTube or something to say, was that the one I watched? But I really liked the show, and the reason I did is because it's so fast action, and I'm like, wow. This. So what happened with you? What place did you guys finish?
So, like I said, we came out guns blazing. We won the first leg, and for the first time in 21 seasons, the premise was if you win the first leg of the race and then you win the race, you win $2 million. So we came out and we won the first leg. We finished first among 11 teams, and that immediately put a target on our back. And then the third leg, we won the third leg, which yielded us a trip to Fiji for 5 nights. And so once we won 2 of the first 3 legs, I think everybody was like, all right, that's the team to beat. And then after that, we ended up coming in second 3 places in a row. About the 7th leg of the race, we had a major flight snafu that involved our production camera team and then regular flight issues and leaving Moscow going into Russia. And once that happened, we weren't able to make up the time. So by the time we did get out of Russia and into Amsterdam, we were so far behind the 3 or 4 other teams that were left, and we got U-turned, which is a device in the game where you can send a team that has completed one roadblock or detour to do the other detour, and we had to do that. We got hit with that, and we couldn't make up the time. So we finished in 5th place. There was 4 other teams that were still racing when we were eliminated, and that was just sort of luck of the draw. It's just bad luck. And we had 4 missed flights due to different issues. We had a weather problem. We had a mechanical de-icing problem. We had to get off a plane. We weren't allowed to board one flight because we didn't check in properly. And then we had a flight issue because of our production team. So, you just chalk it up to, look, we signed up for this. No one put a gun to our head and forced us to sign a contract and go on the amazing race. So anything that happened was, it is what it is. And unfortunately for us, it cost $2 million. We couldn't say we would have won, but after being eliminated, someone had emailed us and said, you guys realize you're like one of the top 10 teams based on average finish of any team of any season.
Oh, my.
And, so, you kind of say we probably had a good chance at winning. I don't know that it was guaranteed, but, we certainly were the front-running team. And that's tough to swallow, but you get over it and you look back on, look, we won trips. We got to go around the world. We got to watch this back on TV. I mean, think about any vacation you've ever taken. How fun it would it be to watch it on TV and see everything that happened. So we got that experience. And then out of that, I got, some incredible opportunities. Obviously, the book was the biggest one that came my way, and it would not have happened but for the show. And so, it's hard to put a price on that stuff. So we're very, very lucky.
How tired were you after the event? I mean, after you got back, how many days did it take you to recover?
Well, it's funny because you're racing about between 4 and 6 hours a day, and that's not the whole day. But by the time you get back to your hotel, I would do the laundry for us. Abby would ice her leg or her knee and work on her body, and I would be in bed at 3 in the afternoon or 4 in the afternoon, and I could sleep easily 12 hours. I would just be exhausted. And so when we got eliminated from the show, we stayed in New York for a few days while the other teams were finishing their race, and that's where we got caught up on our rest. But what ended up happening when we got back to California, I dropped about 12 pounds of muscle and fat, and I'd already leaned down for the show while we were training before we even left for about a month. And so I lost about 12 more pounds. I mean, that's a lot for me. I weighed about 180 when I walk around. I lost about 10 pounds to get in shape for the show, and then I came home and weighed about 160 pounds. So it was pretty dramatic. And then Abby got Giardia, which is a pretty intense intestinal virus, and that stuck with her for about 4 to 6 weeks, and that's just kind of violent, throwing up, and so we weren't really tired, but we had been definitely sort of depressed physically from all that intense travel. And, you don't realize that because you don't see it on TV after the show's over, but, it took a good 3 to 4 months to kind of get back to normal.
Wow.
That's about a year of invested time from when we first applied to when we got home and back to normal.
See, that's wild. But then the opportunities come because people see you on TV and say, hey, you know what? And let's talk about the book opportunity, but let me hear about any of the other opportunities as well. So then you have more options. You have more options in your career, what you wanted to do. So, Ryan, how did you get this opportunity with the book? Basically, did somebody approach you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's what happened. We had done some interviews, and I was discussing my legal background. I'm a California licensed attorney, and in addition to that, one thing that kind of separates me is I train and compete in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I was talking about how those things prepared me for the race and interview, and it just so happened that the American Bar Association is doing a book series this year called the first in their flagship book is called Yoga for Lawyers, and it's basically part of their wellness and health and holistic book series, which is aimed at making lawyers kind of step outside of the law office and sort of get perspective and get balance in their life. And it got such a good response that the publisher decided to go out and sort of create sister pieces. And so one of the executive editors was reading a bio on me and had watched the race and was saying, oh, okay, so this guy's a lawyer and he does this jiu-jitsu thing, and, that's sort of like yoga, I guess, in a sense. And so we've kind of had preliminary discussions, and I'd done some travel blogging based on my adventure, and so they had some writing samples, and he encouraged me to put a proposal together. And so, I'd never done anything like this, really. I had no real formal writing experience whatsoever. And so I said, sure, I'm happy to, and curious to see where this goes. And so I did, and they presented it, and it was a hit internally. And so I've been in the writing process since last November, and the manuscript is due in this June. And it's a very, very kind of abstract thing for me to get a hold of. I find myself wanting to sit down and write, and I don't have what's called writer's block, but I do have an issue with going back and wanting to edit work. And so I'm still learning that, how to write creatively and freely and not look back on what I've already written and come back to that. So it's a very interesting process. It's very therapeutic. There's been a lot of things, when Abby and I applied for the show, what stood out about us, I think, was that we were kind of coined as the dating divorcee couple. And so that's a little bit unique, but the truth is I've been divorced and she has too, and for me, mine was much more recent. And I found that writing this book has offered me some therapy in that situation and some stuff that I repressed and didn't acknowledge and stuff that's now coming out in writing. So, I highly recommend it. It's a lot cheaper than therapy, but it's equally as beneficial, and I'm really enjoying it. I told the editor, I said, look, I'm going to agree to most of your terms that you're going to send over in the contract because you're taking a chance on me, but if this goes well, I'm going to come back to you with some other book ideas, and that's where I'm going to make, the real money. And they kind of laughed and said, let's see how this one goes. But, I'm enjoying it. I don't need to see my face on the camera to feel like, being taking advantage of some of these talents, I guess.
Are you looking at doing any other TV? Is that any?
One of the so like you said, there are opportunities, and with The Amazing Race, and even like with The Apprentice, you're talking about two cream of the crop reality TV programs. This isn't Bad Girls Club, or you're talking about very savvy people on both sides of the camera. And so because of that, we've been able to we got a Lululemon product endorsement opportunity, and we got a fitness backpack product endorsement opportunity. And there's people up in LA that are saying, you guys present well together and you would be good at hosting or other product endorsements. So, we're also under contract with CBS for the year. So that's sort of keeping us a little bit out of the loop on taking stuff now. But, we're definitely intrigued, and we are getting interest, which is nice to see. And, we have things to offer that's unique individually with Abby, her design and dance background, and me with this whole jiu-jitsu and entrepreneurial legal stuff, and then us as a couple. So, we're exploring it, but we don't, we really can't do anything for, quite a few months.
So under contract with CBS for only certain things you're allowed to talk about. So, and I understand the whole gist, but then after that's over, who knows where you go from here. And I hope that I can interview you monthly to kind of get updates of where you're going, what's happening, especially with the book, and to kind of delve into more of your background more, because you're a very interesting guest, and I really enjoyed talking to you. But where can we find more information on you, Ryan? And I can't wait till the book's out. You'll have to tweet me about that, but where we can find info on you and learn more about you.
Yeah, I appreciate all that. I'm very active on Twitter, and that's at Ryan, R-Y-A-N, Danz, D-A-N-Z. And the Facebook is a public page there, and I update that frequently. And one thing that I've been doing through my website, ryandanz.com, is keeping people up to date with the writing process. I think people are finding it very interesting to kind of see, as someone is writing and in the writing process, how that goes. And along the way, if things come up with Lululemon or some other product endorsement stuff that we're doing, we're sure to put up pictures, and we, try and engage in question and answer forums, especially as the new Amazing Race comes out in the next couple of weeks. People are always interested in asking questions about what they, saw, what really happened, what didn't happen. So, social media is such a powerful tool, and I try to use it so that I can connect with people that are fans of, whether it's the Amazing Race or, the book or whatnot. So that's where I am, and it's me. It's no one else, talking for me. So I look forward to hearing from your guest, that's for sure.
All right, well, fantastic. Look forward to contacting your agent, have you back next month, and we'll be tweeting you out and promoting you all over the place. So thanks again for calling, man.
You got it. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take it, Ryan. Okay, you're listening to the Total Education Celebrity Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.